Safety first. Martin Luther King once said, and I quote, "We must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools." We want to feel safe. Safety is key. Even in schools, we have safe zones. Remove yourself from MySpace. You're getting too close. You know, you've said it before. We don't want individuals invading our space. There's been a threat. Where's the threat from? One would ask. When you feel intimidated, threatened, how do you respond? Just take a moment and think about it. Do you just move back? Remove yourself from the environment? Withdraw? Never speak with the person again on the phone? Do you not respond to an email? Do you quit the job? Do you not talk again to family or friend? What is your approach in order for you to remain safe? Chapters 7 and 8, communication and relationships and culture, embody this discussion about safety. Within these two chapters, and one of your assignments, well, your upcoming assignment on October 18th, thinking back to a relationship, friend or foe, with whom you've had this relationship, and utilizing the verbiage, the jargon from chapter 7 and 8, talk about that relationship. How could you have better improved your communication? This is the onus, the burden of these two chapters. There's so many broken relationships. I can recall when I asked you all to think about which chapter will be most exciting for you to learn. You remember the introduction video? And many of you said the chapter on relationships, because sadly, relationships aren't working out how we've designed them or desired them to work out. Now, there are people, they'll come together, they'll be married for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years or beyond. There are people who have friends that they've had since they were in elementary school, and they're now 30, 40, 50 years of age. There'll be some people that will stay at a job for many years, but sometimes that does not occur. What is the illusion? What is the distraction? Why is it some harmonize and are synergistic and some do not? We want that safe space. If you are not experiencing in a relationship what you want, sometimes you may resort to silence. Silence is any act of purposely withholding information from a pool of meaning. Whether that's with a friend, family, co-worker, like, I'm not sharing the information. She needs to do the research just as I have. She should have paid attention to the meeting as I did. So you withhold information intentionally. You wonder, why would someone be so cruel? Well, you say, hey, I did the work. Why didn't they? What is your heart like? Would you assist someone? Would you say, pause, I'm not going to help you? Many forms within silence, masking, understating true opinions, using sarcasm, sugarcoating the information. Sometimes sarcasm is, I was just saying a little joke. You've got that friend, that family member, that neighbor. Their jokes are not funny, and you'd wish they stopped using the sarcasm. But when will you stand up, or will you just be silent and withdraw yourself from the friendship? Avoid. Sometimes people steer completely away from sensitive subjects. They don't even address the real issue. Well, I submit to you, when does the issue become real? Is the issue real when we're talking about health? Is the issue real when we're talking about our finances? When is the issue real? Or you can withdraw. You're pulling out of the conversation altogether. You exit the relationship because of the silencing, sarcasm, couching, masking how you truly feel. These are some great concepts of cognition, of relational, social, psychological, and even physiological concepts we need to discuss and be mindful of in human communication. Violence. Oh boy, if you watch any manner of television, social media, there's a lot of violence, sadly. This violence exists because someone's not getting their way, they're not mature enough, they don't have the proper coping skills, someone hurt them, someone's cruel, you grew up in a different way and traditionally than someone else did, cultural implications. Why do we have so much violence? Again, let's go to the heart of the situation. But violence is a verbal strategy where you attempt to convince, control, or compel others to your point of view. You may have a friend, co-worker, who's quite compelling when they express their ideas. They can articulate what they've researched. They can clearly express their ideas. And then you have that one who just demands adamantly that you do or respond as they desire. That can be annoying. That can be unwelcome. Common forms of violence: controlling, coercing others to your way of thinking, cutting others off, overstating the facts, embellishing the story, changing subjects, labeling, putting labels on others, stereotyping, putting others in categories, or attacking, wanting a person to suffer, belittling and threatening them. I know some of you are saying, "Oh, you got me, Doc. I've done those things before." Well, we're giving it a name. Once you identify things that you've done, things that you should modify or change, it will help you to be a better human communicator. It will assist you in responding properly. Different stages of relationships, but ultimately we have a social exchange theory that says we want to weigh the cost and the reward of the relationship. Is it even worth it to keep the relationship? Is it equitable, right? Am I getting anything out of this? Is this investment I'm making being reciprocated? Many times it is not, because we live in a self-centered culture. This is not just happening in America, it's happening all over the nation. If you would say, "Well, I've got a couple friends, Doc, and they're my friends because," are they your friend because of what they give to you or what you give to them? Are they your friend because of societal, those friends with benefits? The chapter talked about that. What is this all about? What happened to being a friend because you have similarities, because you identify with something that they've expressed? You can say to yourself, "I value that." And that's a friend till the end. Most times friendships are not based on that. Even in Thailand, I love this, in the chapter, do you actually have a ceremony for the friendship? You swear devotion to another. Some people have blood ceremonies, but I can't imagine that. But this is what they do. I don't want that kind of friend. What kind of friend do you want? What kind of romantic relationship are you looking for? In the chapter that discusses romantic relationships, they spoke about arranged marriages. And they talked, of course, about relationships in the workplace. But arranged marriages, sometimes I wish they'd come back, because most people would have made maybe a better choice if there is a promotion of arranged marriages. Some of you are probably saying, "Well, my mom and dad have a real big impact on who I choose." And guess what? That's potentially true, because what impacts our decision making? Our family, what culture says, sadly, societal, social media impacts that. So thinking in your mind, am I in a relationship, whether it is a romantic relationship, co-worker, or with friend, or with neighbor, because of what they can give to me, the social exchange, what is reciprocated, or is it what I value in them? These workplace romances, you have to be very careful. They talked about it in the chapter. There's a lot of this stalking, bullying, cheating, infidelity, even in the military. You cannot have a relationship with a superior. That would be immediate dismissal. Some of these policies are in place because once your emotions, and we talk about social, emotional, relationship, once your emotions are involved, all bets are off. Some people don't have the proper coping skills. So we need to be aware of that, the dark side of relationships. Lastly, when we're talking about culture is, of course, lifestyles, beliefs, attitudes, patterns over time. And it's sometimes hard to define clearly a culture because we're so interconnected here in this great nation. But when you speak of culture, there was in chapter 8 a quote, and I think this highlights the entire discussion about relationships and culture and human communication. And I quote, "Intercultural communication is complicated, messy, and at times contradictory," end quote. So many dichotomies, so many dualistic ways of thinking of things. But you, as a human communicator, you really have to think about what is your motivation? What ultimately is your goal in being an effective communicator? Is it to get your point across? Is it to overstate or embellish a story? Is it to be synergistic? Is it to have a harmonized relationship? These are some very poignant questions and perspectives that you need to be mindful of, aware of, abreast of in all relationships that you have. Certainly, again, I submit to you, this is grown-up stuff. And even some grown-ups don't have it. You've seen them arguing online. Major grown-ups, right? Making poor choices in politics, yelling, and even in some countries, they'll throw a shoe at you if you say something they don't like. That shows the disdain for what you have said. Oh, people, we've got to be more accepting to different ideologies and viewpoints. You still keep in your mind, in your heart, your values, but be open to hear the expressions of others. Chapters 7 and 8, make sure to read them in full and be prepared to turn in your assignment. October 18th, it is due. Read weekly assignments for further explanation, but it's you referencing some kind of relationship, utilizing the chapters of 7 and 8. Talk about how you could have been a better communicator. Enjoy the rest of your break. Dr. Williams signing off.